Or you mean...
Do whatever we have to do for you tonight.
All you have to do for me is decide whether or not you're going to issue a deed waiver on it. And a deed waiver cannot be issued just because you want to issue a deed waiver.
Right, we have to have justifications.
A very specific reason why you would do a deed waiver.
And
usually it has to do with if it is going to be of a hardship, financial hardship to the municipality. Say somebody had some kind of a dump on their property, and if the town took it in deed, then they would have to clean it up. It has to be usually an environmental consideration. It has to be a very serious consideration to do it. I can't give you more information.
Did these people have to fill out any paperwork? Did they miss deadlines or anything that they had to be able to do anything to waiver, to ask for a review?
No, this is a waiver if the town wishes to waiver it.
From us,
do a waiver because of a financial hardship to the town. It cannot be a welfare hardship. Right. It has to be more of an environmental hardship to the town at that point. It can't be just...
We don't want the property.
This is something that is watched very, very closely by the state, especially my end of it and your end of it. In other words, one of the main questions when I'm audited is, were there abatements or waivers or anything that were done to any of the members of any of the governing body? Basically, it's watching the governing body,
right,
making sure that we stay honest.
Right. But there's a deadline that they have until to make, right, before you can deed.
That's correct.
And what's that deadline?
You had to ask me that, didn't you?
Absolutely.
I think it's the 26th or 27th
of April. So they have...
A month after the notice went out. The notice went out Friday the 12th.
We can't do anything to deed the property until that day.
That's when the deeds will be drawn up, after that date.
Right.
It doesn't have to be done right on that date. It has to be done within a reasonable period of time.
Okay.
From the state, we have requested what is a reasonable time. And they've said, well, 2 weeks is a reasonable time, 2 months isn't a reasonable time, this type of thing. Given.
So they didn't give an answer, actually.
No, they did, typical of the state. They threw it back in at the municipalities. However, these three, I'm assuming, a big word.
It's a bad word.
No, I know, but I am assuming that the mortgage companies are going to pay all three of these, because if they do not, they lose their interest in the property, and it is gone. We did do this to one couple of years ago, if you remember.
Yep, and then the mortgage company had to pay back the penalties and the fees.
And they, of course, since in the last few years, they have added that 15% penalty that has to be paid on top of all the taxes, on top of all the interest, on top of all the costs, the 15% of the fair market value.
Yes, and it cost the last mortgage company a little over $55,000 to get their mortgage back.
That's right.
And once the town deeds the property, the town can't immediately resell the property. It has to maintain it for a set period of time.
Actually, the town can sell the property, but nobody's going to buy it because
I thought the last time you told us...
No, the people are able to redeem it
for
3 years.
Right.
That's the difference. So, you know, it's not advisable to sell it because the people can redeem it.
Okay, maybe that was there was a 3-year period that they could redeem it.
But if somebody really wants to buy it,
they
can.
If it's redeemed, they get their money back.
If it's
plus improvements, I believe.
Yes, it's not just
minus the improvements.
It's not just get it back for what was paid. They would have to pay any improvements. In other words, if someone bought if we had a lot for sale, that we had deeded, just a house building lot, and we sold it, and someone built a house on it, and then the prior owner wanted to redeem it and get it back, they would have to pay for the house. They would have to pay for everything, because that would be considered an
Or if we
improvement.
deed a house and we have to make improvements to keep it from deteriorating, then they have to pay us,
anything.
they have to pay all the penalties, fees, interest, back taxes, and all improvements that we have made to maintain the property.
Plus the 15% of the fair market value.
That's if they want it back, but if they don't want it back, then we're out for
We-
3 years of maintenance and everything else.
Right.
Well, we'd
And
have
then
to
if
do
we
something.
auction it, and if it goes to auction and sells it, our debt is secured first, and anything left over goes back to the homeowner or to the mortgage company, whoever holds the title.
Correct.
Is there any additional information that we're going to get over the next 30 days that would influence where this goes other than them paying the taxes? In other words, should we wait? If we wait, or do we move tonight?
No, we can't move tonight. We can't deed anything tonight. You might want to discuss doing, if any of these 3 pieces of property are eligible for a waiver, which I'm not seeing that they are.
So you're
We
telling
have
me
to
this
give
is,
them 30 months, only if that is, legally I am required to give you that list.
for information
To
only
give
tonight?
you that option to do a waiver if you feel as though it's necessary. The other thing I'd like to discuss, just for a half a second, because it's getting late, is the deferral process. And I do have some written material on that. We've done, as you know, our very first deferral, which was property up on Tumbledown Dick. Our request was put in for a deferral. It was granted. Everything went through very smoothly. The deferral is in place. Now, deferral is basically a lien. It is filed at the Registry of Deeds. What that does for the town versus the abatement process, it still keeps us in the loop, so to speak. It still leaves it open for us to, at some point, redeem our money from it. The way the deferral is done is after the form, after it has been approved, I abate it from my system. So at that point, it is out of my system. When the property is sold, or the people want to have the lien lifted from the property and pay whichever comes first, at that point, a check will be written to the town of Brookfield. It will not come through me. I can handle it, but I have nowhere to put it in my system because I have abated it. So what we have to do is decide how we're going to account for this.
Isn't that the way that we do,
And I think-
also, when we deeded the property, when we deed a property,
That
it
came
comes,
right back, yes.
it comes to the town, it
That's
doesn't go
right.
back
This
through
is
you
the
because
same-
it's,
This will be the
Okay.
same thing.
so Mary Lou's familiar with that process and knows how to track
So
it.
we're going to have to set up a system to keep track of these. If we have more deferrals, and I have a feeling that that is the way we're going to be going in the future on different properties with the way the economy and everything else is. So it's just something to think about.
Is there any time limit associated with the deferral? Can it go on for years and years?
Yes, it can.
Can go on until they sell the property, or the
Until they
property
sell the
is
property or
abandoned, or the property is, what's the other word? Given to,
Changes
inheritance.
ownership.
Yes,
changes ownership.
and at that point, the lien has to be satisfied.
And I believe that it is a 5% interest charged on that versus the 12 that we have now.
Right.
I do have literature and written information on
Well,
that,
I
which I
will
will
need that
give
as soon
copies
as-
to each of
As soon
each
as
of
possible, please.
Does
So you
bankruptcy
can
fit
do
into
some-
this anyway? I mean, does people can avoid this with bankruptcy or anything?
No.
No,
No. Okay.
once this lien is on, it is a priority lien. And it is a tool, it is a good way to go, is if you're, versus the abatement that just means
Absolutely.
it's nothing.
Yeah,
If you have your choice between abatement and deferral,
defer.
deferral is the way you want to go, in my
Yep.
opinion. Humble. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like a copy of that information as quickly as possible, since I have an issue here I have to discuss
I know
with
this.
the town attorney.
I have discussed that same issue, and I have discussed it with the town attorney also
Okay.
last year. Ernie asked me if I would please call her and have her explain why you did something else. And after I went up one side of her and down the other and let her get a word in edgewise, he said you should have done a deferral instead. She kind of agreed with me in hindsight.
Was after the fact though, and
You know, what I said, hindsight's great.
it was already done. Okay. CEO.
Not a lot of activity. The report of woodcuts are starting to come in. The end of that is the 31st. And then we'll start a new tax year. And, but they have 30 days to get the reports in, so most of them, there's a lot coming in now.
Okay.
Other than that, it's pretty quiet.
Road agent.
We've graded Lyford Road. We've lifted the post of weight limits on Lyford, Rice, Sanborn, Eaton, Hawley.
Clark.
On Clark. I left it on Clark. I moved the sign up from here and I moved it to the corner. I left
Oh,
it-
I'm sorry, I thought you meant you were posted, you've taken them
No,
off
I've
here.
taken them off
Oh.
because basically the smaller roads that are in the sun,
All the frost is out of it.
yeah, yes it is. And it's coming out quite rapidly in the others. We've been cleaning culverts, doing a heavy cleaning, which we haven't done in a couple of years, rather than just satisfying a little bit here and there. We're digging them out with a backhoe and cleaning them and carrying on. The only thing I have, if you don't have any questions for me, I have a question as to when you're gonna notify me as to a definite decision on which road project you're gonna do, so I can start trying to schedule some of that stuff.
The day after it was supposed to be finished.
Okay, that's good. I'm used to that.
Okay. This meeting, I just wanted to get everything set, get rolling, get Rich acclimated to being a selectman and sitting up in front of the camera and the townspeople, and then our next meeting, we'll start hitting everything hot and heavy. Ray, you got anything?
No,
You sure?
nothing that would matter.
I wrote you in for planning board, but you didn't win.
I know, I lost by 3 votes.
By 3 votes.
Because it's on in summer. It's so good.
Conservation Commission?
Could have had mine.
Cemetery of the Trustees aren't here.
Brad has a couple of things.
Emergency Management,
He's under the forester type of
Oh,
thing first.
Forestry.
He has, Mr. Zacher, he has recommended the town forester, deputy town forester. He has some paperwork that will go on to the state. He needed to fill out. Did you give it back to me? Did you fill it out and give it back to me?
Yes, it's been.
Right. Okay.
What you do, throw him out of the house and tell him to find something to do? Good for you.
It's something-
Yes, I can.
Something during the day.
Then it goes on to the state.
There are never forest fires in the day. They're always at night. You know that, right?
Activity during the day.
All right, and he has another thing you'd like to mention. He called me before the meeting, he was called out to another area. He has a grant, a matching grant for $400, a 50-50 matching grant, which he'll use his money out of his money. But with that money, he would like to buy some materials for the new assistant forest fire, or I don't know, you get a hat or whatever you need. Some of it's to cover some of the expenses.
It's the protective equipment that he will need in order to go into the middle of the fire and stomp it out.
With his wife's.
Did he mention that to you?
What did I sign up for?
Anyway, just he doesn't need our approval, just letting you know, would like us to be aware of that, that he's going to apply for that. So.
I have no problem with that. So,
And that goes back to Brad, I guess? I think.
so there's nothing for us to sign on the grant? He's
Nope,
doing it?
he's doing it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll put that in his mailbox. And has nothing to do with him, but while I'm on it, look at my note. Mr. Brown sent me an email. You can tell he's still not totally out of office. He noticed the spotlight was out on the flagpole. And he mentioned, this was like before you took office, by the way, he emailed me.
Can you go?
I'm not an electrician.
No, can you just stick your head out the door and see what's on?
Well, that I can do.
I guess the question is, do we...
See, I knew I'd get him to do something for the town. It was just a matter of time.
What the issue is, whether it's the, I don't know, the bulb, but wondering, I know the electrician dislikes those types of lights, I
The
heard.
guy that climbs the pole.
Dark off, yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's time to put something,
A different fixture there.
different type of fixture, and at least get the electrician's opinion on that, rather than the spotlight. Oh, we got some.
Mr. Nason.
Well, it kind of goes back to the emergency management.
So we're not talking about the electrician right now and the light
No,
out
that
there?
could be emergency lighting, but this is emergency management. The nice package that's in the old schoolhouse with the cots and all that. Is that going to stay there?
It's going to go.
Kind of rolled out in that room there?
It's going to be rolled, I believe, into the front room where
That's
Virginia's
what I was
old
going to
office is.
suggest, into Virginia's old
Yeah, it's
office.
gonna get locked up.
Okay. That's my only comment from that section.
How's the floor in that office?
I have no idea.
Better than the school.
I don't have a key to that building.
It's sinking into the floor in the schoolhouse.
Yeah, yes.
Who?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
So I
Can
assume
you get
it's
with
quite-
Brad about that and
It is.
get that
Please
moved
talk
as
about that.
soon as possible?
I'll be here all night.
Are there anything from the cable committee?
That goes to Frank. We did get a thing in the mail.
Yeah.
Time Warner, this is Frank's copy, which I never got to him. And it basically sort of, I don't say changing names, but they're breaking it down into like little sub-companies, like 10 sub-companies.
Reorganization, internal.
Internal reorganization. Anyway, they have something for us to sign, and it does talk to us about having a contract with them, which we do not. The terminology says, such and such, we have a contract with them, and you agree and understand what they're
Well,
doing.
before we sign anything, make sure that we clear it that we're not signing the town away to them. And that's not some kind of
Rich got to
contract.
read it.
I read the whole thing. I think we can ignore it. It's if we want to challenge the reorganization, it doesn't ask us for it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'd let it go.
Mr. Nason.
Where, the cable on 109, where does it stop going north and where does it start? Does it come in from the Wolfboro side at all?
No.
No.
It doesn't. So where does it stop going?
We have a map from them, and it goes up, I think it's at the first house up on the right, somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Oh, right here. So up around the old Fletcher farm and stuff, there's no cable up in there?
No. There was talk about having them run it all the way up to the new subdivision,
Right.
but I don't think that had been
It's
done.
been done, okay.
Last I knew, it was run right out to this corner here. This was the last building on 109 that got it. I think they extended it up to
Barry's, is it Barry's mother?
Steve Barry's mother's.
Oh, yeah, I
And
know,
first
yeah.
house on the right. We
Second-
tried
Oh, the
also.
first house on the
Second
right.
house on the right.
Second house,
Terry.
maybe. Okay, second.
First one's Fred Perry.
The second one is Dave, and the third one is
Perry. I mean, Barry.
Barry.
Okay, third
You're
one.
right.
Now, we did try to get Wolfboro to bring it in from the other end. But
MetroCast won't come through this way. As long as Time Warner's in the town, MetroCast won't come in. So,
well, that's not totally true. They are over in Pleasant Valley Road. And once they had agreed to go over toward your neck of the woods, over towards Stoneham, but then all of a sudden they changed their mind and didn't want to have anything to do with it. So whether it's a little,
the Time Warner's over there now, right?
Time Warner's over there.
but they were going to come,
Baseball.
MetroCast was going to come in when they would not.
Right.
And somebody had spoken to them, I don't know, it was Andy Tapper or somebody, maybe it was your husband, to get them to come in, and they said, yeah, we'll think about it, I think we might do that. And at the last minute, they backed out and wanted nothing to do with the project. So we're back to MetroCast, other than Pleasant Valley Road, not dealing with Brookfield.
Start our own cable company.
We could throw MetroCast or throw Time Warner out. But we did make progress. We got them further into the town than they were before.
Somebody wants it up there? Or some,
No, I just happen to know of somebody from New York looking at some property up that way, and their employment, of course, everybody's working out of the house now, requires cable. And I said, can you do it through a dish? And they said, no, it has to be hardwired cable.
Well, depending on how close they are to the Wolfboro line, they may be able to get MetroCast to cross it. I mean,
Pay for
if they pay for it. So,
we were looking at trying to get DSL extended. DSL's throughout most of the town, and that's pretty good bandwidth. And the webpages come up like that. And I think it goes all the way up to the prior Belton Farm. So,
yeah, but you got to know somebody to get it turned
yes,
on.
you do.
You can't just call into the 800 number and ask them to do it, because they're going to like, no, it's not in your neighborhood. Yeah, it is. People just down the road from me has it. Why can't I get it?
Talk to the person that patches across
Right.
the town,
It's the guy that's
the manager.
the local guy here that
Jeff.
gets it for you.
He's the one,
Jeff.
he's your source.
Jeff.
Yeah.
So that's how I got it.
That's all I got.
Let's see, planning board.
What are you looking at me for?
Hi, can I give a report?
Absolutely.
The board received...
Could you get in front of the camera, please?
Come on up here and stand in
I wanna
front.
make sure I'm in the shot.
Oh boy, now he wants to even be in the picture.
Now he's gonna make it look good, look prettier. Yeah, come on.
The planning board received and regrettably accepted the resignation of Charlotte Coleman as planning board alternate. The newly elected board members, Gary Ciccarone and Rob Collins, were officially sworn in, and the board unanimously voted Gary Ciccarone as chairman and Rick Surratt as vice chair. A resident from Brookfield attended the meeting and asked for a letter of approval for his at-home gunsmithing business. The matter was referred to Ed Nason, Code Enforcement Officer. The scheduled public hearing commenced. It is a requirement to have a public hearing whenever tree trimming is done on town scenic roads. A representative from Asplund, who was contracted by PSNH, announced that there are 24 trees along portions of Moose Mountain Road, Tumble Down Dick Road, and Lyford Road that will be trimmed and some removed to reduce the danger of power outages in the area. And that work will start in about a week or so.
Didn't they just do those roads? Like 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Not to my recollection.
Lyford, they sent out,
They did some
They did
pole work
Yeah.
on the Dick Road. But this is.
No, they did some on Moose Mountain too, because we held the hearings in the planning board on it.
I don't recall it being that.
Yeah, and they were going to do some on Lyford Road as well. I think it was like 3 years ago.
I don't know.
Maybe
Whatever.
4 years ago?
They feel they need to do it again.
They do it every 3 or 4 years.
I think it is a 3 or 4 year rotation.
Okay.
That's the end of my report.
Good.
Thank you.
Who's the gunsmith?
Yeah, who's the gunsmith?
It's 501 Wentworth Road. I cannot read for life of me, remember his name.
Last name Aldrich,
Aldrich.
first name I believe might be Dave.
Mike, I think.
Mike
Was
or
it
Dave?
Dave? I'm not sure.
Aldrich?
Yeah.
He said he wasn't related to any of the Aldriches in here.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you have any other questions.
Excuse me.
I did talk to the ATF agent today about it.
No.
The ATF agent,
Oh.
who's responsible for licensing person, people like that. And the license he's requesting, they only allow them to work out of their, at that level, they only allow them to work out of their house, has to be within their home. So it's not, it's an ideal cottage industry, it's not gonna, you're gonna have an occasional car come and go to drop off a firearm to be fixed. He's gonna work in his house and do the work, and
We need one of them in town.
yes, because they're hard to find.
Yes, they are, good ones.
They're gonna do sales too?
It allows him to do sales, but are very limited. And he said to us he has no desire to do the sales. There will be no retail display. If somebody come in to requesting him to fix something and they express interest in finding such and such a firearm, he would look for that on a kind of like a consignment type thing. Or the other case where it falls under sales is if, say I was in Florida and I just was at a gun show and saw a gun I just had to have.
Yeah, you can ship
I
to
could
him.
buy it, and it has to be shipped to a gun dealer.
Yes.
So he would fit that bill where we could have it shipped to him, or I could, or whoever, and then go to him and pick it up.
It's like going to, it's like buying one of those World War II Mausers, you know, from one of the collections that wherever they all have them, and you want to buy one, you can buy it, and they'll ship it to him, and then you pick it up, pay a small fee.
And
So-
the ATF agent said everything on their end was fine. They just needed town approval, and I said it fit into our zoning, and, you know, there's really,
So basically, you gave the approval.
I did, right over the phone. I said, do you need a letter to follow it up? He said, no, I just needed to hear it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because that's very basic cottage industry kind of thing.
yeah, it was.
Okay.
And by the way, his credentials is he is on the police force in Manchester, Nashua, somewhere down south. He works south of here on the police department. So it's a hobby of his that he's gonna try to make some money at.
Got a lot of law enforcement moving into the town.
That's okay.
No, I'm all for it. That's very good. Okay, any other committee, commissions, or departments that need to, want to speak? Okay. Before I get to this, any old business? Okay. So we'll go to new business. From town auditors. Please find the final copy of the 2011 town audit. Please note the instructions for the MS-60. We are not responsible for sending the copy of the town audit to the DRA, as this is the responsibility of the town selectmen upon their review.
It's due within 10 days of acceptance. I guess due at Concord.
Right. So if we don't ever accept it, then it's never due.
Sure.
Okay, they'll lose it anyway, send, and request it 10 more times.
And you'll get a black mark.
I have lots of black marks.
I'm looking to see if there's a report that goes with it.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten that far yet.